Bollocks! Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. It's Tiki here, and I am a storyteller. It's what I do. And oh my god, this impression of Pinner is bad. I feel like my Pinner impression just gets worse with each passing episode. Anyways, welcome, folks, to Survivor Storytellers, the podcast where we still kind of, the strategy is always a part of Survivor, so we're going to talk about it. But more so, we are interested in the arcs, the editing, the character development, the storylines. That's our meat and potatoes. And joining me tonight is the ever-popular Lazerdude. How you doing, man?
I am doing great. I'm doing really good. I'm really excited about this season and really happy to be talking about the merge.
Indeed. Our other co-host here, Casey, he is unfortunately missing in action right now. I'm hoping that he will pop up at some point during this conversation.
Exile Island. He's on Exile.
Yeah, right. Obvious metaphor is obvious. No, actually, to fit the theme of this season, I think he's on Shipwheel Island. Anyways, Casey, if you do happen to pop up, great. We'll totally have you on. But so Lazerdude, I'm just gonna jump to you really quick. We talked right before the merge, and of course, this is a two-part merge. I consider Lydia a part of the merge, even though she technically didn't get a merge buff. It's whatever. They made it to the individual.
Well, technically, she did get a merge buff, then it got ripped out of her hands.
I know, right? So Lydia is dateable as far as I'm concerned, if we're going by cat logic. But so Lazerdude, after everything played out, and because we were originally just gonna go for talk about it after the first episode, but then I figured, you know what, with all the BS about now you guys have officially made it onto the merge, I'm like, let's just give it one more episode to pan out, and then it'll give us a little bit more breathing room. Yeah, so after these 2 episodes and 3 hours of Survivor, what are your thoughts now going into the more individual portion?
I gotta say, I was really shocked in how everything broke down between these tribes. I was not expecting for a big mega alliance to make its way out of this and for them to target all the players who have been on the bottoms of every single tribe. That was not, I was totally expecting 2 color tribes to go together and pick out one, but it seems to have just been a lot of good play from the top players who all seem to recognize each other's skills and also aren't necessarily intimidated by that, but are actually working forward because they know that. I think the meat shield strategy is part of the everyday strategy now. It's no longer a nuanced thing that Jeremy and Tony does. It's part
I feel like Jonathan absolutely has Jeremy to thank for still being around, though, right?
Absolutely.
Two rounds into the merge, he has not won immunity either time, and he hasn't even gotten his name written down.
I mean, just even look at Jeremy's winning season with second chances. They let Joe get through 1 vote with him on the block without voting him out. They voted him, but the next time he was available, they got him out.
Right.
On the block has been available 2 times already, and he hasn't even gotten. He's gotten a couple of votes, but they've all been on the people on the block.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God, the votes are so scattered. I forgot that he even got a couple votes, but that's all right. Well, still,
but it's barely any votes.
It wasn't even the decoy vote, right? It was the decoy vote.
He was a decoy for the decoy people who were the decoy vote.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I'm really feeling this season. I will admit, I'm a little bit nervous about the big alliance. I mean, it's we'll just have to. I hope that next episode, because I believe next episode we're getting 2 vote outs in one, right?
Yes. I believe we're probably doing what we did last time with how Nasir got voted off in one tribal council and Evie got voted off in the other.
So I'm really hoping that it's I don't want Tori to go, but I'm really hoping it's something like Tori and Romeo or something like that.
Tori is if she was in Stealth or Wrath, her alliance name would be the Cockroach.
Oh my God.
She is unkillable in this game. It's every time, like, I keep on thinking that people are going to scoop her up as a goat, and I think the longer she stays, the more likely that's going to happen. But every time she seems to shoot herself in the foot, and then like, magically jump over the obstacle that was frightening her away. It's like she calls out Drea, and then anyway, we'll get into it. But it's like she's been just scraping along.
So yeah, I too am not a fan of the whole like the big alliance is like that's honestly one of the big reasons why I stopped watching Big Brother is that every season was just like, great, we've got another 8-person alliance that's just gonna bulldoze their way through most of the game. Awesome. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, Survivor is more fast-paced than Big Brother, so it's like it's not like this alliance is gonna go directly to the end game because mathematically, there's more people in this alliance than there are spots on the end game. So,
and I think this will be interesting because even if this big alliance does stick together for one vote, and let's say next episode they vote off Romeo and Marianne or Romeo and Tori, whatever, it now leaves with only one member out of the big alliance. So it's not like they can ride. This isn't like a Final Five alliance that can ride it all the way to the final episode.
Exactly. Yeah.
The bigger alliance you get, the bigger it's gonna fall. The sooner it's gonna fall apart. So, yeah, we might have one predictable episode next week with a couple of predictable boots. I hope that
That's what double boot episodes are for, though, is just to kind of like trim the fat.
And who knows? Maybe we could have like one tribal where it's just like it's all the people on the bottom and then like Drea and like Mike, and then what's gonna happen? I don't know.
It's possible. All right, so let's just jump right into it with these characters. As I said off the top, folks, the goal with Storytellers, we will certainly be talking strategy because obviously it's Survivor. Strategy is a part of the story. But with Storytellers, in case this is your first time watching us, we're very much not really armchair quarterbacks with this. Like we're not going to be like dissecting like, oh, they totally should have done that. Instead, we're really just kind of analyzing what the show presents us with and not even really making winner predictions. Although I'm sure we'll get into that, but more so just kind of like, how is this person's story so far? Where do we see this person's story going? All right. And with that, let's get into Lydia.
Lydia.
Lydia is honestly probably one of the most vanilla people in the cast, just as far as like screen presence goes.
Yes.
And I don't say that in a bad way necessarily. It's just she's just a very normal person, which is very much a good thing in real life. But I feel like a character like that is a really good option for a merge boot, just because it's she did have story relevance with obviously Hai and Mike turning on her is a big deal. But I feel like it's a good kind of like, okay, Hai and Mike are officially done, even though Mike said he'd take a bullet for her, and Hai is,
Yeah.
So it's an interesting turning point without really losing a major character who's like a really dynamic personality. So I feel like we got kind of the best of both worlds with this as the merge boot.
I feel like there could have been more from Lydia. Like we see her offline or not offline online off the show, and she seems to be a very dynamic personality. But I feel like I didn't feel good about her chances of going far, just because like that whole big episode in the past with like Daniel and Chanel like going at each other and whatever, and they were like there was 2 votes on Lydia, and we never once heard anything from her perspective. Like that whole episode, it was all from Hai, Daniel, and Chanel's and Mike's, I guess, and even Jenny's perspective that episode, but it wasn't really from her. And I felt like that's not a good sign. But I feel bad because I don't feel like she did anything wrong. It's like, did Lydia really say anything that anybody else wasn't saying?
I really feel like it's just a case of, with it being the merge and there's 12 people on that beach, it really is just like you're looking for any reason to target anyone. It was just kind of like her saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, even though she was directly voicing what everyone else was voicing.
I think it was just Omar using deflect, and he used deflect, and the ricochet got onto her. And
I mean, we'll get into Omar, but my God, Omar just, I think from a gameplay level, it's hard to argue that he's probably the top person right now.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with that. But yeah, Lydia is just one of those things where it's like, did she really do anything wrong? I can't point at anything that she did wrong. Maybe the only thing is, like, she made herself, like, indispensable to Hai, but Hai is just one person. She obviously didn't make herself indispensable to any of the other cross-tribal alliances, She didn't make herself, like, she didn't make Drea be like, no, not Lydia. She didn't make anybody else think that, It's like, so if there's anything I could point at to maybe being a mistake, that would be it.
Sure. But yeah, just as far as characters go, I do feel like she was potentially under-edited, but it's just kind of a...
You're okay with her
like,
going
she wasn't
over
the most
Marianne.
story-relevant person.
Yeah. For the story that they were telling, they didn't need her.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not like we got none of her, and she did have, like, an inspirational quote or two about body image, which is good. I feel like that's probably, like, going to be her lasting contribution to the show is the body image stuff, and I think that's a good thing. I think she can get behind that.
People have done a lot more with less.
Yeah. All right, let's talk Chanel. And I gotta say, Lazerdude, I think I absolutely had Chanel pegged from episode 1. Because if you go back and listen to our episode 1 discussion, I swear to God, I'm pretty sure I had her, like, I think Chanel is probably going to be like second or third merge boot. So it's like, I don't know how I called this, but I totally did. Just based on the level of screen time she got, she was relevant, but she wasn't that relevant. I don't know. Yeah. But Chanel, safe to say, just as a player, kind of a mess.
I think she's good strategically in her mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I think she also plays it a little bit too much in her mind and not with her heart. It's like from what we got from the story, her biggest mess up wasn't even the vote, the getting the extra vote. Her biggest mess up was going after Mike with that one vote just in case. And that destroyed all of those. Like I said last time we talked, that Chanel was gonna stay with the group and that she wasn't going to move until she had wiggle room. And I believe that was true. We saw both this episode and last episode her trying to stick to Hai and Mike, but she burned that bridge too much. Like Chanel's whole story this whole time has been looking after herself, but she did that a little bit too much to the point where nobody put any real trust in her.
I do think that the scene of like the big group trying to have the talk and then her going up multiple times and just that is honestly some of the most cringy like social isolation I've ever seen on this show.
It's the funny part is that both times Jonathan uses the exact same excuse.
Yes.
He's like, well, I'm gonna go spearfishing, blah blah blah.
Oh my God.
Arguably, like 5 minutes later, they're all in a group again talking.
I feel like those are really well edited sequence. I'm sorry. I feel like it was a really well done, well edited sequence because it was both funny and I also did feel some sympathy for Chanel at the same time. I feel like they kind of hit the tone right on the head with that.
Yeah, I don't know if there was anything else she could have, like, once she made her bed, there was nothing to do except hope that you win immunity and hope you stay quiet enough that other people do. And it nearly worked. It nearly worked. She stayed quiet. She nearly got everyone paranoid about Romeo enough. But I believe like that one thing with Mike made him so against her that he would not rest until she was gone. So, that just goes to show sometimes you can't just play for yourself. You need to at least give the illusion that you're playing for the group to take you far.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think she's a more interesting character than I gave her credit for in episode 1, but that's honestly mostly just because of how her story arc came up, where she was pretty much just like a pariah for most of the game, especially after the Jenny vote.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we get to we're going alphabetical from here on out. Let's go to Drea. So Drea, I have been saying this whole time she's a game bot, and I stick by that because literally her entire edit revolves around advantages. That being said, I mean, it's hard to deny that this girl is kicking ass.
Record for most advantages had in a single Survivor season at once. Or I think probably ever. Like, it doesn't matter. It's like you can count up, like, I feel like she has more advantages in this one season than, like, idols that Russell Hantz had in, like, 2 seasons.
What about Ben? I feel like Ben had at least 4 idols.
I think he only had the
3.
Yeah, there's only 3 Ben bombs and then the fire making.
Okay. The Ben ones were just like, since they were all like back to back to back, it's hard to even keep track.
Yeah. But no, yeah, Drea, I think she's been playing a great. I will say this week, I'm not sure what to make about the scenes about her talking about Romeo. I feel like either the show is trying to trick us, trying to trick us like, oh, I don't care about Romeo anymore. And maybe what she's actually saying is like, look, if I have to vote about it, I will, but that's not what I want to do. And they're just cutting that last part sort of thing. Or if like I'm not sure like why she would just like discard him so quickly. It's like you need a good number 2 in this game. And I felt like that was her for Romeo, especially since she wanted to vote Roxroy out the first episode. And that Roxroy, who can't remember how to spell Lydia.
Oh, we'll get into Roxroy, man.
Yes. but it's like I'm surprised that I felt like that she was trying to like distance himself because like her and Roxroy as a duo is a lot less scary than her and Romeo as a duo.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah.
But maybe she is just like, hey, I found a new group. I've known you for just like a week. I've known these guys for 3 days. It's basically the same amount of time. So maybe it's not. Maybe she is just throwing Romeo away, casting him aside, and going with the new group. But I if that happens, I feel like that could bite her in the butt. But as in terms of her finding each and every single advantage possible, I mean, throw her an idol nullifier while you're at it. I mean, might as well make her any more or less powerful. It's like I remember she could technically be basically safe from the final 9 to the final 5. Because think about it. Let's say for the next couple votes, she got High and Lindsay voted out. And then at the final, and so giving her amulet full power. And then at the final 9, she steals like Marianne's idol. And now no one's going to vote for her that night because everyone just saw her take an idol. Then she plays one at 8, plays one at 7, and plays, or I guess 7. No, I guess 7, 6, 5, not 8. But she could do the I don't think it. So technically, she could have like almost guaranteed safety for 3 votes. That is insane.
The only thing I do ponder about is there a point, and this is just like not just with Drea, but just in general with Survivor, is there a point where you rely on idols so much that it almost becomes a crutch of your game in the eyes of the jury?
It can. Oh, yeah. I mean, it can, but I think it's all in how you play them.
Because my whole thing is like, even though Drea technically could do exactly what you just said, I honestly think she's in a good enough position that she doesn't even really need to. I don't even think she needs to worry until like final 8, final 7.
At this point, I don't feel like she's in any need. And here's what I'd say. Here's when the big alliance will break down. And it will be, who do you find more threatening first? Drea, High, or Omar? Whoever everybody finds more threatening first.
While fucking Jonathan's just in the background chilling.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like each of those 3 are the power. Like, I feel like High now is a little bit less threatening with only 2 people, but we'll get to that later. But like Drea, if she they know that she has an idol, they know that she has an extra vote. If they know any more than that, she could be the one that everyone finds threatening.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I still like Drea. Still is my winner pick. Well, I don't change it. I make it in the beginning and I stick with it. And I'm still happy about that.
I
Every
think your
single
winner
time.
pick is better than my winner pick, dude.
I mean,
At
in a
this
little bit
point.
of a better position, but that's okay. You never know. You never know. Could
Like,
still
in retrospect, I don't really know what I was thinking with Romeo.
honestly,
Right.
I'm still shocked that he's at the bottom. I don't really know why, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah,
Look,
we'll get to that, yeah.
Drea she's in a good position socially. Everyone seemingly still wants to work with her. I don't see anyone bringing up her name. Even Tori, who is talking about her red-handedness and everything, doesn't seem to be coming after her at this
How
moment.
great was that twist, by the way? I really did enjoy how they executed that twist. I thought it was perfect.
Yeah, no, it was good. Although I think you might want to just like stick a stick in there or something, or you don't necessarily have to put your hand in there. I will say I was like, Drea, why did you not go to the ocean and wash off?
Right.
But yeah, no, it was a good twist. I like it wasn't much of a beware. Like the beware
No,
part
the beware part of it was lame for sure.
Yeah, you didn't need the beware on there. Just, hey, here's an idol. You have to do something tricky. But
Right,
just
right.
like, because in comparison to losing your vote or everything,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
totally.
you will have
totally.
red paint. It's not that much of a
Losing your vote post merge is a pretty big deal. So that I think that legitimately would have been a hard call.
But yeah, I also think she's a lot of fun as a character. She's tough, she's strong, and
I'm warming up to her as a character for sure. Like I said, I still think she's a game bot just based on the fact that literally her entire edit revolves around idols. But that being said, she is feisty, she is determined, so I am liking her personality.
I did love her scene with Marianne. It was like the polar opposites of like personality. Where it was like, we're saying the same thing. She's like, no, we're not.
right.
It was. I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example of like a really happy character and a very gloomy character who get along with each other. I can't think of a perfect example, but it was so fun.
All right. Next up, we have High. I gotta say, some of the fan base has not been liking High, but I have been. I think he's pretty dynamic.
I like High a lot. I think he's been shown.
I hear a lot of people complaining about his resting bitch face, and I'm like, I barely even notice it. And I have resting bitch face, so I can relate.
I mean, like, who cares what a person's face looks like?
I know, right?
I'm looking at his gameplay. And if so far he seems to be working very well with everybody. It was weird that he got a vote from Romeo, but well, I'm sure we'll get into that with Romeo. But High is a guy that I think is very well strategically situated. I think he's trying to do the guy thing. Like, he's teaming up with Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
He's teaming up with Mike. He's wanting to have some shields. I'm not sure if he will be able to do it, but overall, I feel like High's in a decent position to make it to Final 7, Final 5 area and possibly within distance of the win.
Yeah, I agree. I honestly think him cutting Lydia was low-key a really solid move. Because at that point, he had already, like, I feel like him and Lydia were super well established as a pair, one of the most well-established pairs in the game, probably. Mm-hmm. So by cutting that tie, I honestly feel like he opens his options up a lot, because it's not just like, all right, are we going to work with High and Lydia? It's like, okay, do I want to work with High? So I really
it does make him look less threatening, for sure. Like, at this point, I feel like Blue and Orange will probably come after each other eventually in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm. You think High and Mike are probably going to slip through the cracks?
Yeah, like I don't know. I feel like High is less threatening now without too many numbers on his side, but everyone seemingly still wants to work with him. I do fear that he might have cut his numbers too low. Like, I know Mike was all about getting out Chanel, but Chanel was still seemingly wanting to work with him. And I feel like now when you're just two people, unless you can get yourself down to like the final 6, you still are reliant on other people for your gameplay.
If you get yourself to final 7, all you need is 2 other people to flip.
It's true. Yeah. Like, but now the numbers are big where if they wanted to, they could just get you out and there'd be nothing you could do to stop them.
I do think it's kind of likely that he gets sniped for being a threat within the big group before the big group dissolves. I do think that is likely. I could see that.
I don't think that they're going to be going after him first. You know, like I feel like out of the, as I said, the three of Omar, Drea, and Hai, I feel like Hai is not going to be the first one targeted out of the group.
I feel like he could be, honestly.
It's possible, but I think you're right that him having his numbers lower, now he seems less threatening. You know, you've lost your number 2 ally. You know, why? What makes you such a big threat in this game right now? You know, that's kind of what I see.
Could pick up on the fact that he's literally got a social relationship with everyone in the game. That's what
I mean, who doesn't have a social relationship on that? With, like, even in the merge, well, not the merge, the time episode, we saw.
We're not even going to acknowledge the hourglass, by the way. You and I can both agree it's terrible and it needs to die, right?
Oh, 100%. Like, there should never be a moment where it's like, if there's ever a moment where like losing is in your best interest, it needs to be players who come up with that. You know, the players who want to throw a challenge and something like that.
Totally.
This, as I believe Danny said last season, is a lie. It's like it was in players' best interest to lose the challenge. Like, it would be interesting for me, like, but it's also the fact that the twist is like, it's dumb because you know what you're gonna choose. It's not even something like, hey, you can either get yourself safe tonight, but you could get an advantage in the game if you leave yourself vulnerable. It's not even something like that. It's just like, you can either be safe or not. Well, but
I legitimately don't understand how the producers 2 seasons in a row didn't think to add the little tweak of whatever the person chooses, they're safe either way.
Like,
I really don't understand how they would miss that. I really it's just baffling to me. Because then you have a choice on your hands. You know what I mean? Then it becomes more about the people who you're saving or you know, or sending to tribal than it is about, okay, I'm gonna smash it and be safe, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously you're gonna.
Here's what I think should be the thing. I think they should bring them to the fake merge, right? And then they're like, and there's a challenge behind them set for 2 tribes, and they think, okay, so we're gonna do challenges. It's like, okay, now you have to divide yourselves into 2 groups, and so you get 2 people chosen as captains. They divide them into 2 groups, leaving 2 players on the outs, and then Jeff says, okay, you guys will now go to the merge feast, both of you groups, and you 2 will go to Shipwell where you have to make a decision. And everyone's like, wait, what? We're not going to do this challenge? It's like, no, we're not going to do this challenge. And then at the 2 groups, we'll have to decide one of them can have an advantage, but won't be safe. The other one will be safe, but will not have an advantage. And both of them will be the representative for one of the groups.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because then at least there's no lying, there's no play, and you've divided the groups based on strength and stuff. So now maybe one tribe is real stacked, but now you're all challenge beasts that are going to go off for immunity because one of you will not be safe.
Yeah, sure.
But anyway, my point is, it's just like the way they have it now, it's BS and it's stupid. At the very least, they gave the option that you could send someone from the winning tribe. So it's a little bit more on them. You know, it's a little bit more on them.
I mean, I still think that's...
It's still dumb.
It's putting a very mild band-aid on the problem.
Yeah, better doesn't make it good.
You know what? Applebee's.
Yeah, the Applebee's. That's what was missing. Only if, like, Karishma was there, like, serving out the food, or was just there to eat it for some reason, no reason. She was just part of the reward. Like Cochrane pulling up on the boat. Hi. It's just Karishma's there at Applebee's. We didn't even invite her. She just showed up. But anyway, back to the main point. I think Hai's doing well. I think he can go deep. I'm not sure I feel great about him winning.
Yeah, I agree. I honestly, like, if I were to make a prediction, I am worried about him being sniped, but we'll see what happens. Okay. Next up, we have Jonathan, who is just, I don't know, he's absolutely dominating, man. I mean, this dude is like, he is absolutely, I think, the next evolution in, like, the Aussie formula.
Yeah. I mean, okay, at their peak, you got Jonathan, you got Ozzy, and then you got Joe in a challenge. Who are you picking?
Jonathan, easily.
I think it depends. If it's a team challenge, if like all of them are like captaining a team of like mediocre players, I'd choose Jonathan. But for individual, I would choose probably Ozzy.
Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Because even though Jonathan's been in the fight for all these challenges, he hasn't been like out of it. He hasn't won.
He hasn't dominated any of them either.
Yeah. Like in the group phase, like if I could choose to be on a tribe with anybody, just put me on with Jonathan, just because I wanted him to like climb on his shoulders, give him a give me a piggyback to the finish. I've never been so high in my life.
Oh God!
Just like, but and I think Jonathan's strategy that we've seen in the early going is to be the meat shield. Is to like just take me a little bit farther than you should and let me win out. And I believe for a guy like Jonathan, that's all you can really do.
Totally.
Because you're never going to forget about him. You're never going to be like, oh, Jonathan's still here. I totally forgot. So just use yourself. Use your strength as your defense. So, yeah, no, I think he's doing well. I think he's doing. It's a tall order. It's a tall order for sure, because every vote that goes by, you're going to look at the guy with all of his muscles and think, maybe we should get rid of him. But it depends if he can quiet that voice in your head for just long enough.
And I think just the fact that he is such a humble guy, that really goes a long way. It's like he's not. It's like, let's face it, Ozzy was a little bit of a dick. He's always been a little bit of a dick. Jonathan, not so much.
Sometimes you were a prince to me.
Right.
I mean, he got out Billy Garcia, the douche. No, I'm kidding.
Seriously, that was honestly a really big bully thing that he did, honestly. Basically threw a challenge to get rid of the fat kid, But
he was entitled. He's full of himself for sure. I think, it's like if you're the big guy that's nice and everybody likes you as a person, that can be threatening too. But if you're the guy that's winning all the challenges, but is also a dick to everybody's face, that just makes them want to get rid of you. It's like,
totally,
I'm going to get that immunity off
Whereas
your neck.
Jonathan absolutely has the personality where people want to keep him around. People like him. He's obviously a provider. So yeah, I really do think he's gonna
provider strategy.
I honestly would not be surprised to see him make the finale. I really wouldn't. I just think he's on a good trajectory.
He could technically win out. Like as I say, the record is 5 challenges in a row. At 8, he could do that and get to fire.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk Lindsay. Not much to say here. I was hoping she might have a breakout merge episode. She really didn't. She's pretty background.
No, she literally, her only line in this last episode was her saying, sometimes you need to let other people drive. It's just like, no kidding, Lindsay. You've been doing this.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing, Lindsay. Sorry. I mean, look, I low-key thought, when we talked about the 12 people just on paper at the merge, I low-key thought there might be a road for her where she bonds with other people. She gets rid of the bigger threats, but it seems like she's just pretty locked in to stay orange strong at this point. There's not really a killer instinct in her.
Yeah, well, I feel like she's been in the middle of the road for so many episodes.
Yeah.
It's like she's decently safe at Orange Tribe in the early goings. Now she's decently safe at the merge. So there's no reason to focus on her as a potential target. There's also no control that she has. There's no reason to focus on her as one of the people that's controlling the vote. And it's not like she's dominating the challenge like Jonathan in a way, or draws the attention that he does.
No, you're right. Just from a game, like a game positioning point of view, there's absolutely like she's just unfortunately one of those positions where it's just kind of inevitably going to get under-edited.
And I feel like it's one of those things where if she went farther, she probably would get a bigger edit. Like I have a feeling like I've been predicting Lindsay's demise in the game for like a while now, but I feel like if the alliance crumbles, she might be the first one to go.
Interesting.
And I think that's because if we get like a Drea high team up, they might want that amulet.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. Yeah, that makes sense.
And they might want to keep like Jonathan around as that shield for just a little while longer. So I could see Lindsay being like the next, especially since we see
that totally makes sense. And I mean, just even like from a point of view of like take out the King's number 2. It's like that's a classic Survivor move.
Jonathan by himself is threatening, but not too threatening. Jonathan with his number 1 ally in the game still maybe is a little bit more threatening than you need.
Yeah,
but that's really all I got to say about Lindsay. It's sad because I don't actually think she's playing bad. It's like if she actually was playing worse, she'd probably get more screen time. Let's look at Tori.
right.
But it's like sometimes if you're a middle of the road player, you get no edit at all. It's the extremes of the bad and the good players that get all the focus, and you just get left by the wayside.
All right, next up, what do we think of Marianne after 2 merge episodes?
Well, I think she might be drawing dead in terms of her chances of winning, unless she pulls off some really great moves. She's still a fun character. I mean, she's starting to get my nerves a little bit sometimes. This last episode, what do you think of her saying that, her tearing up and saying, "Guys, you need to, someone needs to sit out so we can get this rice," and saying, "I'm using it as an emotional, strategic move."
I honestly don't buy it.
Yeah, like people do feel sorry on Survivor. I mean, just look at Chris in Vanuatu. Sometimes people's emotional feelings can get in the way strategically.
Oh my God. And that's one of the big reasons why I never want to go on Survivor. I would just be an emotional wreck the whole time.
But I feel like her trying to play it off as a big strategic move, like I feel like that probably doesn't actually play too much in the consideration. Like, I feel like she didn't get any votes because Omar wanted it to be somebody else. That's how I feel it not being too much about her own play here.
I mean, I do feel bad for her just from the point of view of like, being on the outside looking in socially. I do get that. I feel that myself in real life a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And I do really like her whole mantra of, letting the, like, being kind of the champion for the weird people. That being said, I don't know. I agree with you. Like, I think she has the potential to make the final 3. I just don't necessarily think she has the potential to win.
Yeah, it's like
the reason why I say she has the potential to make final 3 is because she does have a lot of connections with different people, even if they're not like really rock solid alliances. And I also think that maybe the whole emotional manipulation thing, it could potentially be ammo for a jury to not want to vote for her. Like, like I could see her trying to own that in the final tribal and then it not working.
People respect strategic manipulation. It's just like, they told me it was this plan and it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
They got me. But people do not respect emotional manipulation.
Totally.
Where they're like, I poured out my heart to you, and you said with tears in your eyes that I was good, and then you like voted me out anyway. You know, it's like,
no,
well, that was
absolutely.
fake.
That's the type of thing that would get to me too. Yeah.
It's like, and like, there's certain lengths that you can be okay with that. It's like, you know, it's like, it depends on the type of person you are. But if you like did that to like a player like Mike, for example, he ain't forgiving you. He ain't gonna do anything to vote for you. In fact, he'll encourage everyone to vote against you.
Totally. So yeah, but I do, like I said, I do think I don't think I am as high on her as I was in the premiere. I kind of wish that Casey was here because he was probably like the biggest fan of her out of the three of us. So I'd be curious to hear his thoughts on her after these past couple episodes.
I would be interested to see. It's like we didn't really get too much of a chance to see from her to act strategically in other episodes, right? Like she basically only outwitted Mariah, and that was it. And that's all we really got to see from her strategically. Now that we've seen a couple of votes from her, she seems to be somebody who is just relying on Omar. Like Omar literally said, "Don't do anything unless I tell you to," basically, and she seemed to be okay with that. We haven't seen scenes of her being like, "Man, Omar's really controlling things." I think she's wanting to.
We don't even really have, like, if you think about it, like, yeah, she's relying on Omar, but we don't even really have the scene of like her and Omar being a pair together.
Yeah, like we've heard Omar talking about Marianne as a number for him, but we've never really heard Marianne's take on what she feels about Omar.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? Maybe it's one of those things like a Baylor situation in San Juan del Sur where Josh says, "Oh yeah, I got Baylor wrapped around my finger," and then it's like, "What? Why are you voting with me?" It could be something like that. I feel like Marianne right now is just so not threatening. Like nobody's even worried about her idol.
That's true. Yeah. And I think she's going to be the prime candidate to have the idol stolen, and I worry how she's going to react to that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're Drea, you got to steal it from her over Mike, right?
Yeah, right. Oh, God. Mike would fricking break your legs.
You steal my idol, I steal your kneecaps. You know?
Oh, God. All right. Is that a good transition?
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to Mike. Mike is another character where I honestly could see the seeds being planted of him being a Final Three loser.
Honestly, I feel like Mike could win. Like these last
I think he still has a chance. I just think the past couple episodes there's been a few red herrings.
It depends on who he's in the end with, but he's made really good relationships with everybody. There's that scene with him talking to, Jonathan where he's like, "Hey, you know what? I've been there where people just assume you're this big tough jerk." And
I really appreciated that from a character view, by the way. I really, really appreciated that scene.
We saw him bonding with Omar and getting in good with him and talking about, asking him about his faith and everything and relating to him in that regard. We saw in a less emotional but more tactical sense him talking with Drea and how that they both have the idols and they got to stick together. He also talked to Marianne, but I don't think there's been much that's come from that. My guess would be he talked to her and she didn't really give him anything, and so he kind of disregarded her.
So the two red herrings for me, possibly, are one, the fact that he could become Jonathan's follower. And we have seen a couple people already comment on that. And number two, I do worry that he is too emotional of a player and that the Chanel thing was not in his best interest. And I think it looked worse for him than it did for Hai. So what do you think about that? Because I feel like, of course, we are in an era where Survivor winners aren't edited to be these perfect players. It's still a slip up. I feel like pre-merge, his edit was virtually perfect.
I feel like while there is that, like, I will say that, like, Chanel was definitely on your side for right now. You didn't necessarily need to hit it so hard, especially since there was it did seem like the vote had turned to Romeo, and Mike got it right back on course. And it's not like we've seen him and Romeo have any real bond or connection at all.
Mhm.
Even though that was, I believe, probably a mistake for the Green Tribe in the long run, I do feel like for Mike, I feel like it is a showing of the power that he's able to possess. Like, good or bad, the ability to wrangle a vote, to be like, I'm the one that is holding this in place. It's a power move. If you're the one that got a vote going, it's just like how Lydia, it was a power move for Omar. This is a power move for Mike, and maybe it's not something that anyone's really fighting him too hard on, but the fact that he was able to stay the course and get the course stayed on her could be a good sign. Now you're right; it's possibly not the right move, but if he can hold just a while longer, I think he has the ability to maybe make some moves. Is he going to be all that duplicitous? Maybe not, but if he gets wind, like if they start coming after him first and he gets wind of it and he brings it back, he could possibly be in a position to win some votes.
Yeah. I'm not saying the Chanel thing is a good or bad move. I'm just saying, like, from an editing point of view, it looked petty.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where everyone's like, well, you voted for her in the same vote. But he's like, but I promised she wouldn't go, and she didn't.
Yeah.
It's like, but
I still think Mike is definitely in the top half of people that could potentially win for sure. I just think of the top half, he's probably towards like the number 5 spot for me.
Mike, Marianne, Tori, final 3, Mike wins.
Oh, he crushed that. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's possible is all I'm saying.
All right. Okay, let's get to, I think right now he's the front runner, Omar. What do you think?
He's definitely been getting the best edits so far. I'm thinking that it's possible we could get a Fallen Angel edit.
I'm thinking that too. It's either he wins or he gets cut just before. I think it's one of those two things.
It could also be like the Shan thing, where it's like he's not like the one just before, but he's like the vote that shapes the entire rest of the season.
Or maybe even a Christian Hubicki like penultimate episode boot.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Omar's like he has. If I was to rank all the moves in the game right now, I think his ability to get Lydia voted out without even having a vote,
without a damn vote, yeah,
is the move of the game so far.
Absolutely.
And
just the fact that he acknowledged that he totally could have just skated by, let things just kind of go as they may, but he took the risk. He made the connections. He made the inroads. Like people are going to respect the hell out of that sort of proactive gameplay.
My only thing is I feel like he might be playing too hard too fast, because I feel like if I'm the Green Tribe and I want to shake things up, right, and I want to join either the Blue Tribe or the Orange Tribe to vote out someone from the other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, which tribe would you go for? The ones that seemingly is in chaos with has Roxroy voted for flipping Lindsay and stuff, like the not merge episode. Every single member of the Blue Tribe voted for someone else.
Right.
That's insane. That they're looking a little bit more dysfunctional, where the Orange Tribe still seems pretty all together.
I think it's to me, I think it's pretty damn clear. Like, I honestly think, because I think the winner is going to come from Orange, because of that, I think Omar is just my front runner by default. Just from the complex tribe, kind of like, I think Orange is very much the tribe that has had the most unity, that has probably had the most complex relationships developed.
I mean, I still think Omar is playing probably the best social game out there. Strategically, I wonder if he's putting himself out there too much. It's like, would it have been the worst thing in the world if Marianne got voted out? I mean, he would have lost a potential idol and extra vote, But I mean, do you have a plan for those at the moment? If you don't, it
Yeah, there
might.
is a level of threat level management, to be sure. I
Yeah,
mean, the fact that he's tight allies with Jonathan, though, and Jonathan is almost guaranteed to get attention.
Yeah, as I say, I would if you say Omar's like Omar is my wife's winner pick, and I'm not mad at it. I feel like one of us is right, sort of thing. I
All
feel
right.
like yeah, and I feel like he's in a good position where if they do come after the Orange Tribe, they're probably not necessarily coming after him first. But we'll have to wait and see how it goes. But
I mean, they're
yeah,
either coming
overall
after
great
him or
edit from him.
Jonathan.
Great story. He's also a really good narrator to tell us what's going on too.
Definitely. All right. Okay, next up, I got to admit, Roxroy, arguably maybe one of the worst players in the modern era of the game. I mean, this dude is just socially just absolutely clueless. But I do think that these past couple episodes have been kind to him, just as far as making him an entertaining character.
Yeah, Roxroy, I feel like his strategic play belongs on season 1.
Yes, absolutely. He
You know
totally
what
feels like
players
a
you
throwback to like old school casting.
Yeah, and sometimes we say that it's like, it's just like old school. Well, like, no, this is like literally old school. Like when we say that, usually it means I just want to stick with my alliance to the end. No, Roxroy is like, alliance? What's that?
Right, exactly.
It's like what player he reminds me the most of?
Gabriel Cade.
No, BB Anderson from
BB Anderson.
The guy who just wanted to build a shelter and live away from his nagging wife.
I still remember Family Guy had that great joke that involved BB Anderson, where it's like, "How dare you wash our socks in our drinking water, BB? Now, how will we ever survive in this harsh, unforgiving terrain?" I love the fact that
I've never seen that. But it's like the most happy he's been on this entire show is when he's been excluded from everyone.
Yes.
And he flipping builds a shelter.
Okay, and honestly, that'd be me. That'd probably be me if I'm being honest. I am a total introvert. I would probably dig the isolation of exile. I love how excited about the shelter Jeff was.
He's like, wow. He's like, hey Jeff, I might need to interrupt you to tend to my rice. It's just like, Jeff, you're worried about your dad's rice.
So I absolutely think that Roxroy, especially because currently he is technically part of that big alliance, I absolutely think he's a pretty decent shot to get to the final 3 as a GOAT.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know, man. I'm still like, I was not really into him in the pre-merge because the pre-merge was mostly just him being a grumpy curmudgeon.
Yeah.
But I gotta tell you, there's something about the way that they edited him at the merge. I do think that the exile scenes did help with just him.
He's likable as long as he's not around other people.
Exactly. So it's like he's clearly not going to win. He's clearly I think he's probably got less win equity than Tori, because if Tori does somehow manage to get to the end, she's got to get some respect for that. So
I mean, maybe she wins every single immunity.
Wouldn't that be fucking crazy?
It's just like, how does she keep doing this?
All right.
But yeah, like Roxroy, if he doesn't get to the end, it's probably because he puts his foot down against somebody who's strategically just better than he is.
Totally. I could see that.
If he says, "No, Omar, I'm not going to do that. We're going to do this." And
it's like, Roxroy's getting a little too big for his britches. I could actually see that happening.
But if he just shuts his mouth and says nothing, he's getting to that final 3. He could just
he's got a cool 100K, man. That's all I'm saying.
He could just go to the other part of the island, build himself a new shelter.
Oh my god!
Just hang out there and just show up for challenges and immunities and
okay, I would actually respect the hell out of that.
She's like, hey guys, I'm not gonna play the game anymore. I'm just gonna hang out over here. Let me know when it's time for challenges and stuff. You don't need to bring me on any rewards. I don't care. I'm gonna vote for Jeff every time we go to tribal council. So don't even have to worry about. I'm gonna do the alphabet strategy. I'm bringing it back.
Okay, honestly, if I was on Survivor, I honestly might try something like that.
I mean,
Like, not completely isolate myself, but basically kind of be like, yeah, I'm just doing my own thing. Don't worry about me.
Get the 100K, get the runner-up thing.
Exactly. That would genuinely change my life. And it like from the perspective of what I currently care about, do you know how many coaster trips I could go on with that money? At least 10.
Yeah, I can finally get a Series X.
I know, right? All right, anyways.
Yeah. Roxroy, yeah, if he doesn't get to the end, he owes only himself to blame, and he's not winning.
Totally.
Like, if there was odds in Vegas right now, I believe his would be like 1,000,000,000 to 1.
I do think he's way more likable than like I think the most obvious comparison to him, which would be Will Sims.
Wow. Like he's more of like I was gonna compare him to Dan Foley actually, but I'm like, no, even Dan was more of a dude. I'm an adopted child. So
I mean, Dan was a wild character, but yeah, I don't think likable is the right word for Dan.
Anyways, we talk more about Roxroy than anybody else.
I know, that's kind of crazy. I kind of like it, though. I kind of like that he's such an enigma within the cast. I also remember, like, wasn't he the one person? I don't know if how involved you were in, like, the pre-season, like, pre-cast reveal stuff.
All the pre-season interviews and stuff.
But, I mean, like, even before the cast officially got posted by CBS, I'm pretty sure, I could be totally wrong about this, and this is a little side tangent, so forgive me. But I'm pretty sure he was like the one person in the cast, like before, like when the cast got leaked, where there wasn't even a picture, there was no social media presence, just like, who's this Roxroy guy? So it's like, even from the pre-game, preseason, pre-preseason, he was still an enigma. All right. Moving on, let's go to Romeo. Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?
Oh, Romeo not in a good spot.
No, I feel really bad for this kid. I really do. I don't know, man. There's just something that I feel so bad about with first of all, I will have to echo the sentiments of a lot of other people where it's like, I think it's a little bit ridiculous that this big alliance is like, oh, Romeo's trying to save himself. He's the bad person now.
How dare you?
I know. Like, I think that, like, that is like just the side of the game that is just not fun for me anymore, honestly. And that's honestly one of the big reasons why I stopped watching Big Brother is that I just couldn't stand that sort of group mentality.
The hypocrisy.
Yeah. So like with that being said, I am rooting for Romeo. I do think I honestly think he's a really interesting character. Just from a character point of view, because he certainly has negative moments. Yes. Like, I think the big one for me was, the whole thing with, Mike is so far up Jonathan's ass. I was like, whoa, Romeo, where did that come from, buddy? But, I do think that he is a very interesting, like, he's got a really interesting backstory. He's got the whole thing with struggling about the coming out. That's like there's, he's a very multifaceted personality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's sometimes where Survivor will have a player like this that goes decently far, that they focus on them, but not necessarily because of their strategic play, but because they have an interesting story to tell.
Right.
Like Elaine was the same way. Where like, was Elaine really doing all that much strategically? Not that she was terrible, but she wasn't doing too much. But they liked her story, liked her as a character, so they kept on focusing.
Who did Elaine? Elaine took out Jason, right? With that one idol that was basically handed to her.
Did she play though?
Yeah, she did. Or was it an idol or an extra vote?
I don't know.
It was when she went to
It's
the
not a
island of
great
the
season,
idols.
so I don't want to focus too much on it.
No, I know, but Jason was one of the bright spots of that season for me, and I feel like he got royally screwed because she went to the island of the idols, and they were basically just like, "Here, Elaine, vote Jason off with this."
Yeah,
Like, great.
you might
Jason
be
literally
right.
has no chance. They just basically gave her all the ammunition she needed. Awesome. That's just what I love in Survivor. Anyway, sorry, that's a tangent. I'm still salty about that.
Anyway, my point is like the one thing that I still am thinking on, and the reason why I think this whole scenes that we saw with Drea, like saying I'll throw Romeo away if I have to, is like is a red herring. Is that one scene where he's like, I want to empower women and I want to bring like heroes like
totally.
Drea up. I've never forgotten that quote, and I feel like
that scene really stands out for me too. It really feels like foreshadowing.
it does.
Oh my god!
Like,
I sent Dragon the wrong link. Dragon, I sent you the wrong link, buddy. I'm sorry. I'll send you the right one. We're just wrapping up here. I'm so sorry.
Blue Dragon in the waiting. Yeah, get it. Bring him on. See if he can like.
No, oh god, he will not engage with Survivor at all.
Anyways, yeah, like I don't think Romeo's necessarily dead in the water, but if he does go farther, I'm not sure how much of it's going to be on his own power. You know, like I feel like he might get one of the numbers that's going to be brought up by whoever flips against. But it's also very possible that he could go next. Like, especially with this being a 2 split. Like, if we get Tori.
And he was the obvious person to go last time, like the obvious decoy boot.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we get Tori on one side and him and Marianne on the other. I feel like, you know, like, I feel like Romeo's going ahead of Marianne.
Mm-hmm. All right. But yeah, I like I said, I do really like him, and I do appreciate the fact that he brings a little something different to the table.
Why do you think he voted for High?
I have a theory about the High thing. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah. I want to see if it matches mine.
Okay, I actually, and I don't think they would ever actually show this on the show. I get the vibe that High was a little bit uncomfortable with Romeo coming out to him. Like, because High is a lot more comfortable in his sexuality than Romeo is. Mm-hmm. So I almost get the vibe that, like, I have no basis for this. I almost get the vibe that High almost kind of thinks lesser of Romeo because of it. Like, that Romeo's not secure in his sexuality in the same way that High is. And I only say that because High did bring Romeo's name up quite a few times last episode, and Romeo voted for High. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of awkward, weird sort of like, you know, sort of like social issue there. I don't know. It just, I feel like there's something that's not being said because we get that really heartwarming scene with High and Romeo, which I think is a really genuinely great scene. And then the next episode, they're full on targeting each other. I really think that something must have gone down there.
Well, here's what I think. I feel like after that moment that we saw from them, I feel like Romeo probably thought, hey, now I have an in.
Yeah.
I heard the exit interview on RHAP with Daniel, and Daniel said, I thought I was good because I had a moment where High and I talked things out, and we actually ended up like crying and embracing together. So I thought because of that, I was good. I wonder if there was a similar scene.
Maybe High is just really good about that kind of stuff, like really good about making people feel safe.
I feel like there's probably something similar with that where it's just like, hey, I feel good. And then all of a sudden now he realizes that, oh, well, this didn't actually transfer into strategic value. Like, I, probably appreciates the conversation, I'm guessing. And it's like, I'm guessing.
I totally don't mean to be like, oh, he's uncomfortable. I'm just saying there seems to be something that was unsaid with that.
I feel like Romeo thought that moment made it good enough that he was able to be let into the alliance, where I feel like High is viewing the game and his emotional life as separate, and I don't feel like
Romeo's struggling to do that.
Yeah, like Romeo's like, hi, you and I get along really well.
And maybe that is the
together
thing that's putting a
strategically?"
distance between Hai and Romeo, is just the fact that Hai is like just kind of like playing on a more advanced level than Romeo is. He knows it. He probably would like to be aligned with Romeo, but he probably
It's probably one of those things where it's just like, also, it's like you thought that you had that common ground that could bond you together, and then nothing becomes of it, so you feel a little bit more resentment.
Sure.
Or maybe it just could be one of those things where Romeo is voting for Hai because he thought he was going home and he wanted to throw a shot across the bow on who he thought was playing the best.
Mm-hmm. That's true. All right. And finally, I feel like we are some of her biggest fans. Let's talk Tori. This girl is such an entertaining character. I don't care how much of a bitch she is. I don't care how much of a villain she is. Once she is, I feel like she's going to be a classic example of, like, in the moment when she is on screen, people hate her, right? But then the second she gets voted out, the next week, people are going to be like, man, this is really boring without Tori.
The cast effect.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I really feel like that's, like, she is, like, definitively, like, the villain of the season. I am loving it. I am loving her cattiness.
It's one of those things where it's like, as soon as you know how it ends, you're okay with it. Like when I watched, like, Philippines for the first time, hated Abby Maria with
I loved her from the get-go.
I hated her, but like, you know, like, I hated her so much with every fiber of my being. But then going back, I would just love her, you know? It's like, I love her every moment of it. But that's because I know how it ends, you know? It's like, I know everything ends okay. She doesn't screw everything up. She doesn't even go to the end.
Yeah.
Where I feel like Tori, like, my wife hates Tori. She was
a lot of people do. She's not alone.
When she was putting down the puzzle pieces, my wife was literally, like, blowing at the screen, like trying to get them to fall down. And I like, but I feel like now I'm a little bit more able to appreciate that, like, she is told, like, a lot of people are drawing comparisons to her and Angelina, and I feel it's totally warranted. I feel like Tori's a little bit more in denial. Like, the moment, like who is she trying to fool when she was like, well, Roxroy, I'm really surprised that you did that to me, considering I sent you there.
I know.
And then you are trying to, like, what are you talking about? Who are you trying to fool here, Tori? You just spent the whole day on the reward with these guys, telling me how much you hate Roxroy to anybody who would listen. Like, come on now,
I honestly think that's what's so entertaining to me about her, is that she is like that rare type of villain where she absolutely has, like, no game equity, but she's still just a total villain and a total presence.
Yeah, I feel like even villain isn't a lot, because to be a villain, you actually have to have some power. I
think
like
she's a villain just based on how bitchy she is, honestly.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? It's like, I feel like she's like the troll, the one that's just annoying everybody.
I could see troll. I could see that for her as a title.
But, you know, it's like when I think of villain, you know, I think of someone like Parvati or Russell Hands, you know, somebody who's, like, you know, using their skills enough to backstab everybody. Where Tori would backstab you, but it wouldn't be in the back. She'd do it in the front and then be telling you why you're doing it. See, the reason I'm killing you right now is because you're not really attributing to the tribe, at least not in the way that I am going forward.
Can I just say, I don't want to say this, like, put an asterisk next to this statement, because I certainly don't want to, like, you know, inadvertently affect her professional career or anything, and I'm mostly joking when I say this. I would hate to be her patient. Like, again, I'm sure she's a fine therapist. Like, I don't want to just be like, oh, she's a shit therapist.
You're just saying, if you had to choose a therapist to go to, you'd choose from Survivor, you'd choose Denise over Tori, is what you're saying.
Oh, absolutely. Although my sex life is non-existent, so I'm not sure how helpful Denise would be there. But I digress. Anyways, I'm sorry.
I'm sure her skills transfer to the other areas. Have there been a lot of therapists on Survivor, like, besides?
Not that I can think of, honestly.
They're the only ones I can think of.
I'm sure there's been more, but they're the two, like, major ones. Yeah.
Probably like some person got voted off like second or third or something.
Right,
Like
right.
what was Mary in Fans versus Favorites? I don't know.
Marion randomly was a therapist.
Who's Mary? Our Mary?
All right. Anyways. Okay, well, I think that will about do it, folks. Unfortunately, Casey never did make an appearance, so I am hoping that we rectify that sooner rather than later. I think the next time we come on will probably be the penultimate episode to talk about the players left going into the finale.
Yes.
So yeah, thanks for coming on, Lazerdude. Had a blast.
No problem.
All right. Have a good one, everyone. See y'all later.
Got nothing for you. Head back to your YouTube channel.
And I say that's bollocks.